Ladies, we have a special panel today. We're going to hear from the dads. You know, we come together at MOPS and we're the women and we get to chat. And that was probably when I first started coming, that was the reason I came. It was 2 hours of adult conversation.
Yes.
And that was my main motivator. But how often do we get to hear the dad's perspective of marriage and parenting and things that we get to talk about and hear about all the time, but we don't get to hear what maybe they say or what they think. So thank you, dads, for being here today. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So take it away.
Hello? All right, cool. What's up? I'm Ben Stauffer. I'm the husband to Rebecca Stauffer. We have been married for a little over 2.5 years now, and we have 2 kids, Jonathan and David, who are 1.5 and 3 weeks, respectively. That's the one waving to me right now. And I work in the IT department over at Anderson University. Is there anything else we're supposed to say?
Nope, that's it.
That's it?
Pass the mic.
Well, I'm Travis Berry, married to Margaret Berry, and she's already told you about our family and children and years married, so I won't cover that. But I'm the worship pastor at Calvary Baptist in Williamston.
My name is Ben Morris. I'm married to Crystal here in the front table. I've been married just over 10 years, and we have 3 kids, ages 4, 7, and 9.
My name is Dennis Walker. My wife is Becky. Ben, do not tell my wife anything I say. Do you know who my wife is?
Wait.
Miss Becky? Yes.
Becky Walker?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
See? Nobody knows. I mean, they're like, oh my goodness, that's your wife? Yes. My wife is Becky. We've been married 30 years come this April. We have 2 kids. My daughter is 26 and my son is 22. So soon to be 23.
So we've got dads from really all walks of life, from the beginning of parenthood till like later on down the road. We can survive. We can survive. And since we're talking about marriage, guys, I'll start with the number 1 question that I sent you guys ahead of time because they needed to know what I was going to ask them, which is fair. That's
Here's
fair.
the list. See, I brought mine. I'm the oldest.
He's a pastor. What is your best piece? Let me say, maybe rephrase this a little bit. What was the best marriage advice that you got? And what's the best marriage advice that you would give? Did I throw you a loop there?
I'll go first.
You go first, Helen.
Okay. Well, one of mine is just to remember to laugh often. Laughter is a way to just remember life and enjoy life and laugh at yourself, laugh at each other. It just helps marriage, especially in fights. It really does. It breaks up the tension a little bit. The other side is, as Margaret said earlier, you have to choose to love each day. It's not something that you feel. It's not something that is going to stay with you. You have to make it a choice that every day I'm going to choose to love her no matter what.
I don't remember, I'll be honest, I don't remember what the best advice was. But when I read this question, I thought, wobble room. Let my wife, or let each one of us be who we are. My wife is totally opposite of myself. I mean, in every aspect. Right? I mean, he's laughing because he knows my wife. I'm very uncomfortable up here, but it's just, when we first got married, it grated on me that she would actually, in a room this size, be at each table talking to every person, wondering, hey, so-so, I'm so-and-so, da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'd be in the corner because that's where I wanted to be, the wallflower. So just let them be who they are, you know. You can't change them, that's who they are. Let it be, it doesn't take away from you.
Yeah, I would just say, I think a standard answer is communication, but it really is so important, in marriage, and as you get older, you understand it more. And when we got got married, I was 21, and you know, I would say our first year of marriage was probably the worst, just because, you know, I had no idea what I was doing, and you know, it was just there was a lot of things to deal with and work through, and a lot of new stuff, and you know, we didn't know how to communicate that to each other and talk about, you know, what we were feeling. And when we did communicate that, it was, you know, in yelling and, you know, unhealthy ways that, you know, are not beneficial for, you know, for a growing marriage and relationship. So, you know, for me, you know, looking back, you know, that's what I would say is just have healthy conversations with your spouse on a regular basis. And it, you know, it's easy to talk about, oh, okay, how was your day, or you know, what's going on with the kids, or what are we doing this weekend. But the more you have that open conversation, the easier it is to talk about the harder things as well.
Now, y'all don't all have to answer every
He took mine, so.
He took it. Okay, well, we'll move on to the next one then. How about this? From a man's perspective here, okay, what makes you feel loved and or respected? Sorry, respected. What makes you feel loved, respected? I know that's kind of a love and respect thing. It's different language for men and women.
I think for me, it's, you know, and something that you mentioned that got me excited was the 30 days of encouragement. Like my wife is really good at this, you know, and she'll like leave me, you know, little notes on my desk sometimes, you know, in my office, and just like little things like, oh, I'm so proud of you for, you know, for this or for that. It really means so much more to me, you know, just to know that she's thinking that and verbalizing it. And even if I have a bad day or things don't go my way, like, you know, little things like that can lift me up, you know, way faster than anything else.
I think one of the ways that Rebecca makes me feel respected or loved is that she often asks me what I would like to do. I mean, often the times the answer is, I don't know. But on the off occasion that it is let's go outside for a walk, let's go do X, Y, Z. And then she listens oftentimes if I'm talking about something tech related or work related that she has no idea what I'm talking about, but she listens and asks questions anyways. Because oftentimes I know probably for men who've been working longer than I am that you often don't have people to talk to about work outside of work. And so it's good to be able to, you know, vent's the wrong word, but just, you know, articulate what you're thinking about the day, or be able to actually, you know, talk about things that you don't get to talk about with anyone else, and she has a genuine interest in that, so I definitely enjoy that.
Okay, so I guess you kind of answered that. So, all right, here's a question then. Do you and your wife schedule date nights?
Currently, we do not.
With the
Because we
three
have
people?
Let's see.
So date night is taking a nap when they're both asleep. But I would say on the normal we don't, but whenever family is in town, we do.
Yeah.
So we do take advantage of grandparents who love their grandchildren. But I think it was something that we could probably do more often. But at least we always try to mark off a night every single week that is like, you know, we're not going out and doing anything. We're just going to stay at home, have a dinner. Once the kids go to sleep, we're just going to do whatever we want to do and enjoy that time with us and us alone. So that's something that we do. But I would say we get out as much as we would like to, but you know, little kids make difficult times.
All right, how about some of you older dads?
I was saying, it's a struggle. I'll be honest, we don't have a schedule thing with 4 children. With their age ranges, we're running anywhere from sports to church to school activities. So for us, we have to look for creative ways to have a date time. Like this year especially, our kids are in school all day, and our youngest, he's in a morning program. So we've started doing breakfast dates. Every couple of weeks we'll go to Cracker Barrel, something like that. only spend about an hour, just enjoying each other's time, and then I go to work and she goes and does what she needs to do. We've talked about next year, all our kids will be in school through the day, so we're looking at doing lunches, just getting together during lunchtime. So life is going to be busy and life is going to be crazy and hectic, as you know. So I would just encourage you to look for those opportunities to where you can get together, even if it is 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or an hour, because having that time one-on-one just to connect is very important.
After 30 years, we do not schedule, but we try to do as much as we can. So I encourage you to do that. With my wife's work schedule, it's hard, but case in point, last week, it was Friday, and I said to her, on Thursday, I said to her, do you want to go out for lunch tomorrow? She said, oh, yeah. So I said, we'll go to Greenville, go to lunch. About an hour later, she comes back, so-and-so, a student, wants to come. And I was like, no. And she goes, oh, is this a date? I said, what do you think it is? So yes, it is a date. So she had to call the student back. And because she drops, it would be 2 o'clock in the morning, the student will call. She's on 24/7, and she'll just say, oh, I've got to do this. And it's you go ahead, do it, that's fine. But this was a date, so no, she cannot come.
So it doesn't have to look like the typical date that you see in like Hollywood, like going out on the town on the.
No.
All right, here's a very serious question. Do you care if your wife is in sweatpants all day? Or leggings? The yoga pants?
Absolutely not.
I also say not. It doesn't bother me one
Not
bit.
at all.
I'm probably going to embarrass her. I call them her sexy pants. When she wears
Yes.
them. Yep.
Husbands should always call them that. All right. Let's move on to more parenting, since we are kind of all in different boats with parenting. I can relate to this. So many women struggle with mom guilt. Do you guys ever have dad guilt? Is that a thing?
Wait a minute. Define it. I had to look it up. I didn't know what it was.
Is that in your notes?
These are my notes.
When you sit there and you're, now I can't think of an example.
I know what you're saying. Yes, I'll be honest. I do struggle with the dad guilt from the standpoint of I have a relationship with Jesus Christ. I love him with all my heart, and I want to follow him. So I have that desire for my kids to have that too. I have the guilt of, am I being the earthly father to my children as my heavenly Father is to me? Am I raising them up, since I got 3 boys, am I raising them up to be godly men for their wife in the future? All those things do weigh upon me, and there are times, I look at it and I'm like, God, I feel like I'm failing. But then I also get those opportunities with us being involved in the church that I have different ones come up to me and share stories about what this child did or what this child did. And so I'm like, okay, they are getting it. But yes, I know for myself, I do struggle with that and really have to pray about that.
I definitely say that probably back when I was working a more difficult schedule, I was working nights at certain points, that I felt it to where when Jonathan was really little, that I would come home and there would be times where I try to hold him and he wouldn't be held by me because he was used to mommy or I wasn't around enough. And so I think about it at sometimes. With my dad, he was in the military, but I never felt like my dad was not around because when he was here, he was present with his kids. And so I think it's more important as they get older, obviously, and they seek that role model, especially with 2 boys. I do think about it a lot. I don't say that I suffer from daddy guilt currently because the schedule that we have is good, but in years to come, we don't exactly know where we're going to be. But it is something that is on my mind often is am I spending, or how will I choose to spend my time with my kids in the future? And what are some things I can be doing now to help prepare myself for that?
Okay. Becoming a mom is a huge change. So many things changed for a woman, but what has changed the most in your life since becoming a father? You're the most recent father, I guess. So.
Yeah, I think that changed the most. I mean, obviously, free time went flying out the window, but when we got married, we knew we wanted to have kids. So I'm not gonna say that it was like a culture shock, but we both wanted it. So it was change in that we knew it was coming, but it's just another obstacle that you and your wife have to overcome. You have to learn how do you still spend time together. How do you eat at the dinner table with someone that's crying 2 feet away from you? How do you feed 2 kids now? Well, one's pretty good at feeding himself, but I think, once again, it's just that how do you manage your time well? Like, what are some things that I do in my free time that I'm willing to give up because I'm now a father? And what are some things that I need to, like, prioritize with me and my wife? So I guess you have to be more focused. So things were a little bit more carefree before kids came along, obviously. And so now you have to be very intentional, as you always should be, but intentional with the time that you spend. At least that is for me. I'm not a very organized person, but I find myself writing down the notes at work now just because making steps toward being more of a planner.
Anything else? Changed the most for you?
Yeah, I would probably say the same thing. Just the fact that, I mean, you have more responsibility because these little people are looking up to you, you know, at the smallest level for everything, and as they get older, they get more independent. But I remember when my wife and I first got married, every night was date night because we just do whatever we wanted to do. Your plans could change 5 minutes before too, and it wouldn't affect anything. But with kids, that's obviously a lot different. And now, like in our current stage, it's like, okay, we got to be home by this time so that they can get ready for bed and be asleep by this time. And if that doesn't work, then they're not going to wake up by this time. And so it's just a cycle that it's like a domino effect. So it's like, okay, let's get them to bed on time so we can wake up easier, and then we can get to school, and then we can have time to go to the gym before work, and and all of that. So yeah, I think just the flexibility of not having to plan not only your schedule or you and your wife, but just the whole family, and making sure that everybody works together to accomplish that.
What is your favorite way to reconnect with your family? Like after you've been working, say you've been either at home or you've been away at work, what's your favorite way to reconnect with your family when you all come back together?
Since one of my kids lives at home and the other one is out, at this stage, it's probably a meal together. Just as simple as ask my daughter, you want to come over, Mom's, or actually I'm fixing a meal, because I do most of the cooking, but so yeah, it's just as simple as just reconnecting, sitting around the table, talking. How's everything going? What's happening? So
I think pretty much the same, maybe not at a meal together because my kids are younger, but if I am gone, for the weekend working or something like that and come back home, just being able to, come home. Obviously the kids are young and, they're excited to see me, and, that's always fun, but just to spend a little bit of time with each of them, whether that's individually or together, to let them tell me what all that happened, while I was gone, and everybody has their own perspective of what's important to tell me, and I think that's fun just because it shows one that they missed me, and it makes me feel good, but at the same time me spending that time with them, hearing them and letting them see that I value their time and want to know what was going on in their life that I missed. I also like, like if I go away on a trip or something, it's kind of our little family tradition, and I think a lot of people do this, but like, and get a little toy or something for the kids so that they can look forward to. And I think, I don't know, for them, they just probably think, oh, cool, you gave me something, whatever. May not think anything past that, but for me, it's like, hey, I was thinking about you while I was gone, and I got you this, and so I think it just helps strengthen the family bond there.
All right. I was going to ask this question, but then I realized you guys mostly have boys. There's only 2 of you that have daughters. Well, but so I'm going to skip that. I was going to how are boys different to raise than girls? Let's just say they're different.
Way different.
Way different. Yeah, Travis, they've had 3 boys, and then they introduce a girl. That's got to be even more completely foreign to you.
Yes. That's why I said let's hear it. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So when you have 3 boys your entire life, and then all of a sudden you're thrown into a 7-year-old girl, it's a big change. From the standpoint of boys are always wild, crazy, wrestling, touching, fighting. Constant.
And that's normal.
And that's normal.
Oh, yeah.
Teasing each other. Then you bring in a girl. Girls are more reserved, more calm. They play well by themselves, typically. They do not like to be picked on. They do not like to be touched. So yeah, it's a night and day difference. The good thing is in this process in our family, we're learning to teach our boys, to be gentle. That girls are gentle creatures, and you cannot be rough with
Slap
them.
them around.
On the flip side of that, we're teaching the girl toughen up a little bit. You can take a hit on the shoulder and you will be okay. So yeah.
My daughter's the oldest, and she was 5 years older than her brothers, so it wasn't too bad, but I did teach my daughter how to punch, so she could still throw a mean punch. So when he got old enough, she could punch, and she knew how.
Watch out.
Yeah. So anyway, if you are starting out in your family life and you have just one, sex or another sex, and you get both, it's just, good luck. God bless you.
I got a question for you. Have you learned to braid her hair yet?
I have not.
All right, another serious question. Valentine's Day is tomorrow, so I'm not going to talk about Valentine's Day, but what do you want for Father's Day? Best Father's Day gift. Shout it out. I'm taking notes.
Time
Be
together.
Ready? Oh, okay. Did y'all hear him? He said time together.
All right, I'll be selfish, and it goes along with that question you asked earlier. Some things that you gave up or are not able to do, as becoming a dad or a father. Mine is I love movies. I love going to the movies. I think that's awesome. So for my wife to present me with, hey, here's a pass to go to the movies for, a night with the guys, that would be awesome for me.
Noted.
I think for me, just a fun day, together as a family.
Okay.
We spend a lot of time together as a family, but we don't always like, hey, let's go to this place and do something. And I think that's enjoyable and memorable, for everybody. And I'm not the kind of person that likes attention. And so, like,
Sure you are. You want to get out there and just dance a jig.
For example, like my birthday, the kids really wanted to go to this Lego thing at the library. And I could care less, but to see how excited they were that got me excited. Like, hey, yeah, let's do this together. And you know, that kind of stuff is meaningful to me because you know, you make memories, and you know, you have that bond with your family. And I think maybe it, you know, comes from, you know, my parents were divorced, you know, they got divorced right after I was born, and so I never really, you know, had that, you know, family with them together. You know, of course, they both got remarried, and you know, I'd spent extra time with different families, but you know, I think that for me that means a lot, just to be able to, you know, it's almost a gift in itself to see, you know, them enjoying their time, not just doing something, but for us doing it as a family.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah. Okay, so when I ask my husband, we're gonna move on, men versus women here. When I ask my husband, what are you thinking? He says nothing, and he really means it, I think. Is this true?
Yes.
You think nothing?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Have y'all heard that term, the men are like waffles and women are like spaghetti?
Yeah.
You find that is accurate.
I mean, I did put sometimes, but for the most part, my first answer was, yes. My first answer was, yeah, that's nothing. Or like if we're out in the yard and I'm just standing there staring off, she says, what are you thinking of? Do I really want to tell her what I'm thinking of? Last week I mowed the yard this way, and next week I mowed it this way. So do I do it this? I mean, do I really want to tell her that? No, but that's what I'm thinking.
You just say nothing. Okay.
Nothing. It's not that important.
Okay, so how do we encourage more communication from our husbands, especially concerning what they are thinking or feeling? Like how can we get you to talk if you're thinking nothing?
I got a good one. Be patient with us. Yeah. In college, what? For how long? We've been married 30 years. 30 years. My parents have been married 62 years. My grandparents were married 65 years. So I don't think we'll make it 60 years just because we were 28 when we got married. So that tells you how old I am, you know? So we were both 28 when we got married, and we've been married 30 years now. So just be patient. You might just encourage us to open up. When I was in college, I was really very introverted. I mean, all my life I've been. On the Myers-Briggs, I'm off the scale on introvert. My wife is off the scale on extrovert. And so just be patient. That's the biggest thing I say.
I know that there's another question about this, but I would say just keep asking questions. For me, it's not something that there's like, how are you feeling right now? It's like, okay, well, what do you mean by how am I feeling? You gotta be a little bit more pointed than that, because, you know, I guess men are just not quite as gushy as women are. But it's a, you know, like, what are you feeling about this specifically? Or what do you think about us doing this? So I think the more pointed that you can be, the easier it is for us to answer. And also, even if we just say yes, you now have a very good yes to the very specific question. Or you say, are you feeling sad? Maybe. Well, it's very vague, but you know, like, are you disappointed in how your workday went? Yes, it was a little rough because, and we can explain on that a little bit. That's just how I am, at least. Is that the more specific the question is,
Everybody's shaking their head.
the easier it is to answer.
That's good advice right there.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the,
Kind of go off that. You know how women are like, how are you? And you're like, fine. You know, that's never like.
There's different tones of fine.
Which fine are you talking about?
Yes.
Like if we ask you like literally, like, are you going there, like an underlying thing, or normally when you answer, are men like, that's really how they're feeling, you know? Like, should we take what you say? You know what I'm saying?
You guys have a fine, but you're really not fine.
Yeah,
When you say you're
yeah.
fine, you are fine.
You say ask questions, so when we ask the questions, you men tend to be like honest. You know how women are normally like this underlying.
I mean, I hope that I'm going to be honest when I answer. But I would say yes, because oftentimes I'm not thinking necessarily about how melancholy, I feel. But even though that's what I am feeling, I may not be thinking about that. And if you ask a very pointed question, I might be like, okay, yes, I actually am feeling that way. So if anything, y'all's introspective questions to us help us understand what we're feeling. Because, guys are...
So it's a service, a helping and encouragement to our
I mean,
husbands
to be honest,
more pointed.
that's part of the husband-wife duality, is that the wife in general has more feeling to it, and guys are usually a bit more down to earth. Just in general, in what they're feeling. They're a bit more, I don't want to say stoic, but, straightforward, I guess. There you go. And so, if y'all are thinking about complex things, usually we're not thinking about so-and-so what happened on Tuesday last week. But if you ask questions about it, we can tell you about how we're feeling, because we're not necessarily thinking about something all the time. But, I don't know, we can articulate it when asked, I guess. That's just at least me.
That's good. That's good. All right, how is it that men are able to so much more easily tune out stuff? Like the kids crying, the phone's ringing, and me talking. And somehow that doesn't faze you when the kid's like, I'm trying to make dinner and the kid's screaming at the thing, and I'm like, your father is right there! And he was just sitting there on his phone, didn't seem to see any of it. How do you do that? Because I want to learn that trick.
It's not that we don't care. Please don't think we
it's not
we
that.
care. For me, obviously, that's something like, if you're staring at your phone, you don't realize that that's something that we need to work on to, put the phone down and help. But in other things, I don't know, blinders go on, and I'm looking at, for instance, taxes last night or over the past couple of days. I'm just sitting there running taxes, and I'm not sure if Rebecca said something or they were playing something, and she was like, Ben, look at this. And it took me probably a good 5 seconds to register that she had said something, and then to look over and be like, oh, what did he do? I don't know, it's just the way that I am, is I'm thinking about one thing and about one thing only, and I can hear other things, but I have to physically tear myself away from whatever I'm reading, doing, watching,
That's
and be
insightful.
like, pause whatever that is, and then switch over. I'm in one box, I have to get out of that box and into the next box. I can't have 2 feet in 2 boxes.
Yeah, I also say, for guys, it's like we're one track, one focus most of the time. And so whatever we're doing at that time, that's what we're really focusing on. The other aspect is, it's kind of like you ladies being so complex with your feelings and thinking. That's just the way you're wired. Guys, God just wired us to be able to flip a switch and totally tune out everything that's taking place. So,
Yeah, I agree.
And that's a good thing.
yeah.
That's right, a
Exactly.
healthy balance of both. God created us both ways. I should have looked at the question beforehand. I was having a good time with that. What's the best way to let my husband know that he hurt my feelings?
Go ahead.
I mean, for me, it's just straight up tell me. If I hurt your feelings, let me know exactly how I hurt your feelings, and that's good enough for me.
Like, ouch, that really hurt when you said that.
I mean,
like
it
that.
goes way back to the very first thing, to where it was the best marriage advice, and I believe Ben said it was communication.
Yes.
It's if I hurt your feelings, you have to let me know about it, because I'm not a mind reader. I can't sense exactly how you're going to take something, and that's something that I had to work on, because I would say something that I thought was plainly obvious, and say, oh, I can see how what I said was true, but it was insensitive in the way I said it, or in the timing that I said it. So, had she not told me that whatever I had said had been a little harsh or ill-timed, I would never know. So for me, and I think for a lot of guys, it's just simply tell it as it is.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Everybody agree? So funny, y'all all have the same answers. Okay, well, let's flip it around. What are some things that wives may unintentionally do to their husbands that might hurt their feelings or pride? Do you ever have those pinpoint things that kind of don't do that to guys?
Undervalue or underappreciate. And case in point, my wife, I usually clean because I'm the more focused, tidy, anal, whatever you want to say. So I mean, it's like, okay, and this is a gold mine for my son's wife, because my son is the same way. He'll go into the kitchen and go, why why did mom leave the dishes in the sink again? And he'll start cleaning the kitchen. So it's just underappreciated if we clean the kitchen, just say, hey, honey, you clean the kitchen, thank you. You know, because, and that's how I am just like my father, and my son is just like me. If you were to go into a 22-year-old's, his room right now, everything's in place. Bed made, stacked up, all of his blankets, everything is organized, and that's just how we are, so.
Teach me your ways.
And also say the other side of it too is if you ask us a specific question or you want us to make a decision about something, then support that decision. Don't say, you know, I was trying to think of an example. I just lost it. But it's the thing, if you're wanting us to make a decision, then you guys support it. Don't ask us and then go with the standpoint of we didn't answer what you wanted us to answer or the way you wanted us to answer it.
What do you want for supper? Oh, I want this. Well, and then later it's like, well, I was really hoping for this,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh,
Because it kind of, for a guy, you know, we're supposed to be the man of the household, the leader of the household. So when you ask us a question and then you undermine it, it's kind of like, well, next time I'm not going to worry about answering it because you're going to do what you want to do anyway.
that makes sense. What is the best way to ask for help from our men without nagging? That's one thing I'm trying to be very conscious about. I don't want to be the nag. I don't want to be that contentious wife. So how's the best way to ask our husbands to please hang that up, because I don't know how to use that tool for the third week now?
I'll speak for myself on this one. I like if you give me a time frame. If it's Saturday and you say I need these pictures hung, then tell me, okay, by next Saturday if you can have these pictures hung. That way I can do it on my own schedule. I can do it on my own time. I won't forget about it. It may be Saturday morning at 8 a.m. that I'm doing it. Yep.
But it's Saturday,
But
done.
I'm getting it done because, again, if you ask me to do something, as I tell Mario all the time, I'm going to do it. But it's just going to be when I want to do it,
Yeah.
which again kind of goes to the man's side of, you know, we like to be in charge and be the household.
I always appreciate, because I do forget some things. I forget a lot of things. And a little sticky note anywhere, just reminder, don't forget about this.
So that's not nagging to you?
No, no, that's a little sticky note
We're all
just there
saying no.
as a reminder. I'm like, oh, that's a reminder. Yes, I don't mind that.
Okay.
No, yeah, so that's not bad.
I mean, if I'm putting sticky notes everywhere.
Well, that maybe. Make sure they're in the shape of a heart. No.
I also think, like, you know, if you can be, you know, kind of empathetic when you're saying it, like, you know, I recognize that, you know, you've had a really long week at work, and obviously this is something that slipped your mind. But you know, if you can get to this, you know, I would really appreciate it, and you know, this is what it would mean to me, blah blah blah. And then I think if all else fails, it's like, hey, if you don't do it by this day, then I'm paying this person to come.
Here's the date.
This is the date I'm calling the repair guy.
Yes, and I'm gonna spend all this money to have someone
that's
do
a good
something
one.
that
That
you could
works.
have done.
Yeah. Because I can definitely do it cheaper than that reserve.
How many of us have heard that? I can do that cheaper. I can do that. Okay, well, we're getting towards the end here, so I just wanted to say, like, let's end on one thing. What is one positive thing that you can say about your marriage or marriage in general? Something encouraging, something positive that you would say about marriage that you would want every woman to know, or every person that's about to get married or just got married, or what's one thing that you would say to them?
It takes work, but it's worth it.
I would say that your spouse can most certainly be your best friend, but just because you got married doesn't mean that they are. And it takes work, but like you said, you know, if you work at it, it really is worth it.
I would say it's going to be a roller coaster. It's going to have its high points, it's going to have its low points. but she's got to stay on the ride and keep trekking forward.
A very specific story comes to mind when you asked this question was, one of my siblings was talking to one of her friends, or was just in a group of her friends, and one of my siblings' friends, she said she didn't understand, why you would want to get married at so young, because we were 21 and 22 when we got married. And she was saying, and the friend was saying, she wanted to have a career and stuff like that, and that's all great. I'm okay with that. But why would you not want to share that with the person that you love most? Is the first question that came to my mind. Why would you not want to have your best friend be there with you for every single high, every single low? And I wouldn't trade it for anything. Everything that is difficult is made easier through your marriage and through your shared relationship with Christ. And it's hard to trade anything for that. So I would say that everything is just worth it. It's worth the extra time, the extra effort that you put into everything with your spouse.
It's worth the work.
Yeah.
I'll open this up if anybody has a specific question, because we've got a couple minutes left. If anybody has anything, kind of brace yourself. If somebody has.
This wasn't on the worksheet.
It wasn't. Just thought I'd throw it out there. No? Ladies, can we give these gentlemen a hand for being brave enough to get in front of all these women